and welcome to another episode of Apex Legends Deep Dive. And today's legend is Caustic.
Life is meant to die. Accept your fates.
On today's episode, we will be looking at all the perks and details for Caustic and how to use them while in match, and how each one can benefit you as well. Before we begin, I would just like to say, if you're here watching this video, I really appreciate you stopping by and taking the time of your day to check it out. If you would like, hit that subscribe button and keep up to date with all my content, and leave a like on the video if you're enjoying this series of Apex Legends Deep Dive. Enjoy. Alright, so we are beginning our last class range in Apex Legends, which is a controller class range. Throughout the entire series, we have gone over all the classes, which include Assault, Skirmisher, Recon, and Support. In this final class range, the legends that are included are Caustic, Watson, Rampart, and Catalyst. Now, the controller class is set up to be a legend with the ability to quote-unquote control an area while in fights. Of course, with each legend having some type of ability to hold off a team from pushing or trapping them in a certain area. It just depends. But the controller class also has a unique ability, just like the other class ranges. The controller class can use the ring console on the map while in a match. This ring console allows you to see where the next circle is going to be. Now, having that information of where the next circle is going to be is very crucial for any team, I believe, as it would give you the advantage of knowing where to go before any other team. This is available to these legends specifically because the idea is to be able to know where to go and set up and bunker down, quote unquote, as teams come in to the area as the circle gets smaller. So if you play a controller class, you will be the one to set up the area for your team, prepare to hold down the fort, as they say. Okay, so Caustic is an OG legend as well, who launched with the game, but he was like one of the first unlockable characters. You know, I remember in the early days you could unlock characters just using your tokens, and you still can now as well. So he was one of the unlockable characters that was added. Now, during those early days of Apex, Caustic was very frustrating to fight since his traps and his ultimates would still slow you down and hurt a lot, pretty decent damage. Only problem with this was that it would also slow down your teammates as well. So if you threw an ultimate or you were fighting with your gas tanks, it would kind of hinder you from fighting because you couldn't even finish a fight. You couldn't, like, you had to go around the gas to finish anything. It was very frustrating to fight and annoying to have Caustic on your team because you had to adjust yourself to fight around it or kind of, you know, just hold back a little bit, etc., right? So it was very frustrating in those early seasons. Now, he was overlooked since the meta was revolving around other legends. It wasn't until they adjusted him to where he became a decent legend to use while fighting. So what they did is they adjusted him to where the gas no longer slowed down your teammates at all. I think this was a great addition that they did, and I think everyone was happy with this as well. But when they did this, they also buffed him as well. So they gave him more tick rate damage for all his gas, ultimate, and tanks, and they got a little bit out of hand. He was very strong, I remember, and this began the Caustic meta. So this was during the Keen Canyons days. So whatever, man, I don't even remember if it was the first when they first brought it back or when after Fuse, maybe. May have been after Fuse came out. So I'm not sure what season that is, but yes, it got a little bit out of hand. So obviously they nerfed him, and they didn't want to nerf him enough to where he's going to be completely useless. So what they did, they just adjusted his tick rate of his gas. So what happens now is that you get hurt a certain base damage, and then if you stay more time in the gas, then obviously more damage happens to you. So it's like, you know, you 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, like that. So it keeps going up. So it kind of, you know, for the most part, if you figure out a way to keep them in there, then it would help out. But I honestly think Caustic has been placed in a healthy spot, in my opinion. He currently sits mid-range on the pick list overall, but he's actually meta for comp on World's Edge. So in competitive, they play Stormpoint and World's Edge for maps for all their matches, and currently he is being used for comp on World's Edge. I've seen a couple teams run with him. Obviously, one of the reasons why I think people are using it is just to counter bang, since you can use knock vision, you know, to see through smoke. But obviously the only thing you could do to counter a Caustic is to be a Caustic as well. So if you choose to play with him, just know that it will be your task to fight another Caustic eventually. And also, I think the perks that they given him now have made him a good viable reason to become a strong character again to have on a team. All right, let's do an introduction of Caustic's abilities. Caustic has a passive called Nox Vision. This allows you to gain threat vision on enemies moving through your gas. So this basically gives you Digi-Threat Optics visions. So it gives you that red outline to all the players that are moving in your gas. Now, this is not to be confused with any other scan legend. You can't see through structures, only through gas. It's just when you're in your gas, you can see through it. Also remember that this works with your own gas or enemy. So it is recommended you communicate, with your team for this, to make sure you can see everything and you can tell them where the players are. This tactical is called Nox Gas Trap. This allows you to place 6 canisters that release deadly Nox gas when they're shot or triggered by enemies. The cooldown for this is 20 seconds. You can hold 3 at a time, with each one taking 20 seconds to recharge. Once you use the 7th canister, the first one will collapse. If the trap is triggered, it will throw gas for about 11 seconds. So always place them in a decent spot, because remember that your enemy is slowed down and they're damaged by this gas. Each barrel has 150 HP, and if destroyed, the gas still lingers for about 2 seconds. Now, in some situations, you can use these as almost like short throwables, small mini grenades, I guess. You can throw them, in a certain area if you have some. If you're in a fight, you can throw them. Not only would it be a distraction for your opponent, but it could also be, if they are distracted with you shoot them by, they're trying to run, you could throw a can, it floats up, you shoot it, gas could hit them, it could slow them down, but though it will take time to master that for sure. His ultimate is called Nox Gas Grenade. This allows you to throw a Nox grenade that blankets a large area when activated. The cooldown for this is 3 minutes and it lasts about 15 seconds. Now his ultimate is a very push control ultimate for sure, so just keep in mind that it's not going to kill off a squad unless they're very weak, of course, but it's either going to push them or trap them enough to catch them while they're weak. So it's literally just an ultimate to either push or hold them off enough for your team to reset. So this is where you and your teammates need to communicate which angles to follow. Use them in small buildings, again, small areas. Never use them in open areas, that's a complete waste. And try to make sure to have it for end game as for sure, because it will be very deadly in end game, since the circle will be small. He is the third and last legend that has that hidden passive that Newcastle and Gibby have, and this is called Fortify, which allows them to reduce incoming damage by 15% and not be slowed by bullets. Let's look at level 2 upgrades for Caustic. Option 1, Parabolic Force. Increase tactical throw range by 75%. This perk allows you to increase the throw for your canisters. Now, this perk sounds very useful in those situations where you can use them as grenades almost. So for example, I can see this being used where a team is like behind cover. You could throw it, shoot, and then push them out with the gas that comes out. Of course, it will depend if they shoot it first, but if you could throw it in a good position, you let the gas like come up, you can trap them almost behind cover. It's far enough for you to throw. I mean, obviously you have to calculate the length, but it does give you a little bit more range to throw, and you can use it to push out an enemy from cover. I think, in my opinion, it's a great addition, but obviously it's not overpowering either. Option 2, Particle Diffuser. Increase ultimate area of effect by 50%. This perk allows you to increase your area of effect of your Nox Gas Grenade ultimate. This perk is great to cover more area with your ultimate, since it will increase it by double. Now, currently it is a pretty good area of effect even now, but having this perk active would just make it a lot stronger, I think, in my opinion. For sure, I can definitely see this being deadly in late game as the circle gets smaller. So you could throw this in the last circle and you could probably win the match just because of that. So unless other teams have a Caustic too, it's GG's for those other teams, but great for those matches for sure to have a Caustic on your team. Let's look at level 3 upgrades for Caustic. Option 1, Residual Toxins. Nox Vision persists for longer. This perk allows you to have the Nox Vision for a longer time. Now remember, the Nox Vision is a digital threat outline while you're fighting in your gas, but having this much longer will be great, because you have to remember that if your enemies get caught, you can see them before they see you, giving you that advantage. But also remember that Nox gas also works against Bangalore's smoke, so this is a great counter for her as well, since obviously we all know that the nerf that happened just recently to Digithreats at the beginning of the season. So if you like that idea, you could definitely choose this for that preference. Option 2, Breathe It In. Regen HP while enveloped in Nox gas. This perk allows you to regen HP while you're in your Nox gas. So similar to Bangalore's smoke regen, I think she has also the same ability. If you're in your smoke, you can regen health. This will regenerate health when you're in your gas, whether it's your traps or your ultimate. As long as you're in your gas, it will regenerate your health. I think this is great when you're fighting in your gas. It will give you that extra advantage to be able to have a little bit of health be regenerated, as you try to heal up your bat, your shields, and etc, right? Now do remember that once you're out of your gas, obviously just like Bangalore, you will lose that effect. So it is required for you to stay in it. A good example for this would be, it's great to hold off a push if you get weak. Throw a couple gas canisters, pop them, and heal as it starts to regen. Maybe throw 1 1, 2, boom, boom, let them come up, shoot them, let the gas hit you a little bit. You'll start regenerating as you throw that bat. Because remember, they'll try to hold back a little bit, not trying to push you. They'll try to get angles, but just remember, if you put it in the right position, you could stay behind it for sure. And it would help you get back in the fight much quicker, in my opinion. All right, so for my final verdict for Caustic and choosing the 2 perks to use with him, I would probably choose Particle Diffuser and Breathe It In. Now, the reason I say these 2 is because for Particle Diffuser, it would be a great advantage since your AoE is much larger. Obviously, that's a much better option to have. It would give you that space to push and hold off a whole squad if used correctly. And again, especially in late game, that is for sure. I mean, the circle would be so small, you could probably cover up the whole circle with your AoE at some point, maybe in that final circle for sure. And at level 3, I say Breathe It In only because it would give you that chance to regen in case you get shot from far. You can always push back and hide and heal behind your canisters. Now, I did kind of go back and forth with this a little bit. I would say residual toxins, but only if you plan on fighting in your gas all the time. So I definitely see that for sure. And again, I did say that this counters Bangalore's smoke as well. So this is one of your late options. If you plan on fighting in your gas and you have to make sure that the enemy is in your gas as well, or if you notice there's a Bangalore, you know, as you see, as I mentioned before, they use it in comp to counter Bangalore's teams. And you know, if you have that option, go for it. I say go for it, since it would give you that Digi-Threat vision to counter her smokes as well, and give you vision in your gas as well. So it is a preference a little bit on that third one. If it's late game, you know, you can definitely choose which one. But I think honestly, I would go with Particle Diffuser and Breathe It In. Well, there it is, everyone. That is all the details on Caustic and how each perk can benefit you or not while in game. I appreciate everyone that stopped by to check out the video. Leave a like on the video if you enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to check out all uploads, shorts, and streams. I will continue to the next legend, Wattson, in the next episode. Enjoy the rest of your day, and remember, never stop gaming. Amaru out. Peace.